Yourself, did you? You go to the temple. How long?
Long time. I grew up with it, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Conrad's been coming around since 1970.
Since what?
Since 1975.
Oh my God.
75, 76, something like that.
Sent him as a young boy.
All right. So basically, Maggie, because you're a very important person, you've opened all the rough to open canisters, you've chopped so many vegetables, you have put up with Ram getting all of this organized. Beginning there. Basically, this is a special day. And on this day, there is a particular temple in India. There are two prominent temples in this place. It's called Jagannath Puri. And Jagannath Puri is very famous. If you Google Jagannath Puri, thousands of tourists and pilgrims go there every year. The event that we were talking about is called the Rath Yatra. So a Rath is like a chariot, literally. And Yatra means like a journey. So every year there's a huge festival, maybe 500,000 easily. Maharaj mentioned how many came one year during the Navakalebra? He said even more. Yeah, million people came. So Puri is not a huge place, but that's how many people come for this event. And essentially what it is there are a form of Krishna called Lord Jagannath, along with in his pastimes, his human-like pastimes, his sister and brother, Subhadra and Balaram, all in the same temple. And it's a particular manifestation of Krishna. Once a year, they bring that deity out, and on a beautifully made cart, 3 of them, they go on a procession from that huge temple. The Jagannath temple, first of all, is very ancient, but also very big. And it goes to a smaller temple called Gundicha. This Gundicha temple was the desire of the wife of a great king named Indradyumna. And she had her own temple made with the promise that this particular form of the Lord would come there every year for 1 week. The whole festival takes 9 days. 1 day is traveling to, 7 days there, and then 1 day Bodhyatra is going back to the Puri temple. Understand? There's a lot in our Gaudiya theology. There's a very thick and very esoteric sort of narrative that goes along with it. And basically it centers around today, which is the Gundicha margin, the cleaning of that temple. Because for 1 year, that temple is kept mostly empty. There are services going on and everything there. But once a year, they do a sort of a huge cleaning. Thousands of people come together and do it. But the inauguration of that activity was done by a form of the Lord called Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya, with many of his associates and many other people, they went to this temple. And the real thing was not the cleaning of the temple. The real thing was that they cleaned the temple in such a way that you would want to, in the sort of common expression, you can eat in the bathroom, right? That kind of cleaning, right? So that's the introduction. So begging your permission, I want to go to another level of the discussion, right? And in your heart, you can file all these things, and like flowers or like seeds, they'll grow in the future. So actually, this Gundicha margin is very special because Mahaprabhu was not simply cleaning the temple. He was cleaning a mood to accomplish what was not accomplished in Srimad Bhagavatam and Krishna's Leela. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna never returns to Vrindavan. Our acharyas have commented. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad mentions when Nanda brought Krishna along with Akrura to Braj, when Nanda Maharaj returned, Krishna got on the chariot and went back. This is one prakosh in which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad is said. Jiva Goswami Pad is written in Gopal Champu after the killing of Dantavakra. Then Krishna also returned to Braj. What is the evidence for that? What evidence do we have for that? Gopal Champu, but what is the evidence? When Uddhav went. When Uddhava went to Braj, when he entered into Braj, he saw the Nitya Prakash of Braj. Nitya Prakash means the eternal dawn. Because when it mentions by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that Krishna went back, it means Krishna is always there in the eternal abode. This is the meaning of Krishna never takes one step out of Vrindavan. Because in the eternal abode, there is no Mathura, Dwarka, Gaman. Krishna does not leave Vrindavan, go to Mathura and Dwarka in Nitya Leela. So from the perspective of Nitya Leela, he never leaves. In the Prakat Leela, he performs this Leela for a special purpose. That special purpose is that in the Rasa unfoldment, there is one thing called Sudura Pravas. There's different kinds of meeting and separation. One kind of meeting, separation, is called Purvarag. It means before Gopis and Krishna actually begin to come together on a regular basis, this is called Purvarag. The meeting that takes place after Purvarag is called it'll come to me. The next kind of no. Next kind will be Man. If Radhika will become angry and Radha and Krishna separated based on that anger. When Krishna, by great Vidagdha means expertise, is able to break the man of Radhika by hook or by crook or any other way, then at that time, when Krishna is allowed to come back, it will be called Sankirna Sambhog. Sankirna Sambhog means contracted. In Purvarag, the meeting is called Sankship Sambhog. Sankship means like brief. Like on a first date. On a first date, any male and female, there's so much maryada. In other words, you will be very cautious about what you say, even if that lady will come to the door and she's forgotten to comb the hair or anything, and she will open the door and she says, "Oh, how are you? You look very nice." You'll also say, "You're also exquisite." Understand? It doesn't matter what's going on, because this is some sheep means there is some contraction in one sense of mood. There's no familiarity. You understand? So this is called Sankship Sambhog. When there's Man and Radhika's been angry, and Krishna will then finally be able to break Radhika's man, still the atmosphere will have some tinge of that mood. So that meeting is called Sankirna Sambhog. Sankirna means contracted. Example, if any husband and wife have had an argument, it never happens in our household. Mohini, excuse me. Anyway, if the husband will go out and then he will come back home, and then argument is finished. They may even smile at each other, and the husband will ask nicely, Patni, is any prasad was made? Yes, it's in the refrigerator. Your feet are broken. You understand? So this is Sankirna Sambhog, this mood. Right? Argument is not there, but mood is still there. And then there's Pravas. Pravas means if Krishna will go for Gocharan or anything, cow herding or anything, at the time he comes back and there's meeting, it is called Sampana Sambhog. Also, it is Sampana Sambhog after Abhisar. Abhisar means when they take Radhika out to meet Krishna, because of the length of the day, because of the dulabhat, the difficulty in making this happen, because of the nature of the danger of the Abhisar, all of these things build a case that when they meet, the meeting is very enriched. It is called Sampana Sambhog. This other type of Sambhog and separation only happens in Prakat Leela. That is called Sudur Pravas. Sudur Pravas means when Krishna goes to a distant place, very far, and he stays there for an excessively long time, and he comes under the control of others. That is called Sudur Pravas. When Krishna goes to Mathura, then finally goes to Dwarka, when he's married Rukmini, 16,108 queens, and he has 10 sons and 1 daughter, he's under control, he cannot easily come back to Braj. This is called Sudur Pravas. The meeting that takes place after that is called Samriddhiman Sambhog. That Samriddhiman Sambhog takes place at Kurukshetra. Understand? But that only happens in this Prakat Leela. So the mood of Gundicha Marjan is the anticipation of Krishna's returning after having been gone for all of these years, after having said, Ayasayati. In Bhagavatam, this is written, Maharaj told in Sanskrit to understand it, Paravasa Agamishyami. that I will return the day after tomorrow, because Ayishati in Sanskrit, it doesn't have a time. So Maharaj, that was very insightful, that he gave the meaning of this word, which is written in Bhagavatam when a crew is going, it says by a duty. So by a messenger, in this case, the messenger was a messenger of the Alokta. Krishna only looked because he could not speak also. When our cruise chariot was going, the gopis who normally, because their bhav is so high, they have to hide it. It's called avahita bhav. They spoke. Krishna, who normally is very talkative and very, I can have a great rap. That's what he used to say. Nowadays, I don't know what you would call it. But even he could not speak. So actually, when Krishna was on our cruise chariot, he's looking, but he could not speak. But the gopis at that time, Visvajalaja, Rudasma Susaram, Govinda Damodar Madhavati, they began to sing. They laid in front of the chariot. They made so many expressions, openly admitting their love in front of seniors, elders, everyone. You understand? So, but Krishna himself could not speak. So Ayishyati Dotika, by one duty, means a messenger, that messenger being Krishna's eyes, he gave the message, I will return. But Maharaj told, no, this means, what is it? Paraswar Agamishami. I will return the day after tomorrow. This was the indication. But did Krishna return? No. So very long time. So actually in Srimad Bhagavatam, as I mentioned, Krishna is not written anywhere that he returns. This is because Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to give the deepest mood of separation, because in Radhika's mood of separation, the highest type of bhav manifests. Because we know that, I'm not explaining all, but basically the way that spiritual emotion works, starting at the very root, it is called Shraddha of faith. That Shraddha of faith is available even to us. You understand? By mercy of a sadhu guru, that Shraddha is available to us. From that point on, it is the mixture of Kripa and Adhikar, which will then determine moving forward. Understand? So that faith, if it is blessed by a sadhu, and there's our endeavor, meaning sadhan bhajan, it will become faith in the sadhu. That is called sadhu sangha. You understand? It's the faith in the sadhu that becomes sadhu sangha. When you have faith in the sadhu and you're doing sadhu sangha, at that time the sadhu gives bhajan siksha. He gives bhajan siksha, or she gives bhajan siksha. When they give that siksha, at that time, Swarup Shakti comes as a power within that siksha called Kriya Shakti. Therefore, it's called Bhajana Kriya. The Kriya is the Shakti of Swarup Shakti. And Bhajan is the Shiksha. Where is Ram?
Wow.
Oh, you can hear. I just want, so you should hear. It's okay. No, if he's there, he's hearing. That's fine. You're serving and hearing. It's okay. Okay. So this is called Bhajana Kriya. When there's Bhajana Kriya, it is that Kriya Shakti that removes the anarthas. The anarthas mean things that are not good for us when we're trying to do something. In other words, if I'm trying to accomplish a particular task, there'll be many things which would cause a setback to that task. So they, in spiritual parlance, is called an anartha, an unvaluable or unwanted thing. So we want to remove those unwanted things. The unwanted things, they are not removed by our own power. And this has been a misconception for a long time, that I will do bhajan, or I will practice, I will chant, and when I do that, I'll be able to remove the anarthas. Anarthas cannot be removed by our power. You understand? Because the anarthas, they're also coming from the avidya Shakti. That Shakti is also the Shakti of Bhagavan. You understand? Therefore, you cannot by your own power remove it. So the power of Swarup Shakti present in Bhajan Sadhan that is subsidized to us removes anarthas. When the anarthas are removed, the chitta, which means our consciousness, can then become steady. As long as the anarthas are not removed, they will keep giving an impression to do this, do that, get involved in this, get involved in that, sidetrack this way, sidetrack that way, for as long as that Swarup Shakti has not removed them. When Swarup Shakti is sufficiently, by its influence, not by its manifestation, by its prabhav means its influence, right? Like we don't touch the sun, but do we definitely experience it? That's the influence of it, because nobody's touching the sun. So nobody says, "Yeah, I'm really hot now. I was just touching the sun and so someone on." If so, they usually will call the hospital immediately. Understand? No, they'll call the hospital because they think something's going on, right? So we feel the influence of the sun, we don't directly touch it. So in the same way, the influence of Swarup Shakti, not its direct manifestation, puts away narkas, and then the chitta becomes steady. This is called nishta. Nishchalaya yasha iti nishta. This is called nishta. That means the chitta steady. When the chitta becomes steady, and you will hear Harikatha, at that time, the Swarup Shakti, including the Rasa Samagri, the taste inherent in the Harikatha, manifest on the chitta, and now the jaundice-like condition of the senses is gone, so now you can taste it. If you have jaundice and you either chant Nam or hear Harikatha, then because of the jaundice material condition, it becomes difficult to appreciate it. It's bitter. For some people, it's bitter. And if you progressively get better, then gradually, once you are healed, then Tat Baba Adi Mariore, Shruti Dirapakshite, Nasa Sastana Yuting Shata, Loba Utpatti Lakshana. That time, Ruchi comes on the chitta and a taste in Harikatha and Harinam simultaneously appear. Understand? Now moving quickly because we were trying to get all the way to this mood of Radhika. So now once that taste comes, when it becomes mature, it becomes attachment to the very thing you're hearing about, which is Bhagavan. That stage is called Ashakti. At that point, your sudden bhajan, everything, it only awaits the mercy of Bhagavan to descend. It only awaits for God to bestow his mercy. At that point, Radhika sees the desperation in that mood, gives her Ashirvad, means her blessing. That time, through Sadhu and Srimati Radhika, Nityananda Tattva, Swarup Shakti descends on the heart, Sudasatma Viseshatma, etc. At that time, the heart becomes available to understand the actual spiritual dimension. At that time, the Swarup Shakti takes over the consciousness completely. So remember when we used to have self-interest, like today and yesterday, right? That self-interest becomes completely dominated now. So all the time we were trying to figure out how to be the Das of Krishna. When Swarup Shakti descends, this is the meaning. Bhakti param pratilabhya kamam hridrogam. You understand? Bhakti comes, pratilabhya, bhakti comes. So when Swarup Shakti descends, the last vestige of any self-interest vanished. It's eradicated. In Prem, it's adjunctive, completely. You understand? So at this point, though, it's eradicated. Just like Gurudev gave the example once, if you wash a plate very clean, but you've cooked some tomato sabji on that thing, the film may remain there, but the tomatoes, everything is not there, but some film may be there. Yes, exactly, in this Bhagavatam verse as well. You understand? So now, once the chitta is dominated by that, then you can start to appreciate what is praying. And then in the next body, because this body cannot hold praying, in the next body, the actual body will be composed of praying vastu. That body you get will be composed of the particular kind of love for Krishna that you have. If that is Sakya Ras, you'll receive the body of a Sakya. If it is in Madhurya Ras, you'll receive the body of a Gopi. If it is in Vatsalya Prem, you'll see the body of a Gopa or Gopi in elder status. Understand? So that body is composed of the actual mood that you have. Understand? Now, in the case of Srimati Radhika, her body is also obviously made of this prem. So now I'm describing what this prem is. From the point of prem, it turns into sneha. Sneha means an affection that has the quality, especially in the case of Radhika, like honey. Honey has certain qualities that ghee doesn't have. You understand? Ghee is very tasteful, but mostly it's tasteful in combination with something else. You understand? Therefore, people don't drink ghee wholesale. Of course, I'm not, maybe I shouldn't generalize in some cases, you understand? But normally ghee in the sabji, ghee on the potatoes, And when I was preaching in Africa and Gujarati families, ghee on everything. You understand? Ghee on your mango rock, ghee on the rice. You know, in Gujarat also desserts are last. I mean first.
Sugar is in everything.
Huh?
Sugar is in everything.
Yeah, put on puri. That's the first time I put on preaching there. What's that? Oh, give us that. But they make put on puri and there's a ghee on put on puri. Very, I'm telling you, so nice preparation. One fault, I'm telling a story. I don't want to get this, so remember where I am, so I don't get diverted. When I was preaching in Africa, I would do, at that time young, so I would do Nirjal Ekadasi every Nirjal. The lady who lived next door to our preaching center, one Gujarati lady, Pushpa Patel, she, every time when she found devotees were doing Nirjal Ekadasi, the next day she would make a feast. So next day be Dokla Patra, this thing, every single time. So what happened was, it got to a point where doing the Nirjal Ekadasi, the whole meditation is for tomorrow. I had to go to her and tell her, you know, better to cook in the temple. You know, because it got to the point the bodies were starting to talk. What do you think Pushpa is going to make tomorrow? Really? Everybody doing Nirjal, the people slobbering at the right? And then the whole thing was the bodies would be chanting their japa the next morning before the party, be chanting japa. And then they'd be looking out to see if she's picking mango. It was crazy, absolutely crazy. Anyway, so sneha can be like ghee or like honey. Honey, you do not need to add it to anything else. You can, but honey is sweet in and of itself. Therefore, you can eat honey in the drops, very tasteful, very sweet. Radhika's love is like honey. Understand? That sneha then turns into man. The man of Radhika is made of the kind of honey-like love that she has for Krishna. Therefore, her man is unique. Then from man, it goes to pranay. Pranay means a kind of love where there are no barriers. From pranay, it goes to rag. Rag means a love that is so powerful, even pain becomes pleasure. Dukkam adikam chitte shukatvaina eva jayate. This is the verse in Ujjalamani, right? That even the most painful things becomes pleasurable. Example, Srimati Radhika sometimes when she's cooking for Krishna, they have chola means like a outside stove kind of thing. She'll be cooking on 5 or 6 of these stoves all at one time. Not one drop of sweat is coming. You understand? One drop of sweat not coming. She's cool as a fan. But one day Jatila told, when Dhanishta came to get Radhika to come and cook for Krishna and Nanda Bhavan, Jatila told, listen, why every time my daughter-in-law should go all the way there to cook for this boy? He doesn't have parents? You understand? He has 2 parents on his side, Rohini Mai, and also so many servants. Nanda Bhavan's a king. Why my daughter-in-law has to go all the way there? Of course, the reason is why? Because but why Yashodamaya requested? Because of Durvasa. Because of Durvasa Rishi. A blessing that once Radhika was serving, that anything you make, it will be nutritious, delicious, super califragilistic. Anyway, it will be like that. You understand? It will stimulate everything. So Jatila is saying, why my daughter-in-law has to go over there to cook for him? She will not come anymore. At that time, Radhika was in the Antapur, means the inner chamber. She laid down in there, her body was burning so much like fire that her Sakis were taking flowers to cool her body. If they put the flower on her body, it would evaporate. Understand? Just by hearing this thing. Understand? So this is the meaning of Rag. On the other hand, Radhika sometimes, when Krishna goes out for cow grazing, to see where Krishna is, you know, Braj, people walk barefooted. You know, we go on Parikram, I tried it, right? On the Parikram, right? First year I went, right? It was the Gung Ho year. It's called the Gung Ho year. What's a Mai year, maybe? More spiritual. You understand? Parikram, barefooted, no problem. Second year, I said, well, last year the blisters were such that after first day's Parikram, there was a lot of rickshaw intervention. So next year it's the swim shoes. You know, those swim shoes for going swimming. And part of that is, right, nobody will take those, pretty much. You understand? Those outside the temple, people look, little rubber looking thing, nobody will take it, right? But you find out very quickly. Like if you go, like I think Mayapur was that year, went to the Sringapali, the first, that walked to the Sringapali. So by the time we got to the Sringapali, the whole side of that swim shoe, the toe was sticking out like this here. So it's like, all right, boss, this is not gonna work. You understand?
It's not inside. We went to the dollar store and got something before we left
Yeah.
the first day, not even halfway.
Yeah, gone. So anyways, but all Brijabasis, because they've accepted Brajadam and the Braj Duli as completely spiritual. That Braj Duli always is doing seva to the lotus feet of Brijabasis to get the mercy of Krishna's lotus feet. Understand? So wherever you go in Braj, just like you go to Charan Party. I don't know if anybody else had this experience. Somehow or another, I sleep on every single those charts, everyone I don't miss. You understand? I don't know what that's about. Understand? It's a purification, I'm sure. Understand? But they're walking there, no scratching anything. How tender is Radhika and Gopi's feet? How tender is Krishna's feet? But not one scratch, one mark. Understand? Because Bhumi Devi is doing seva. Because Bhumi Devi is also very cautious. In the Ram Lila, Bhumi Devi made big mistake. Because she accommodated Sita saying, oh, take me into your bosom. After that, Lord Ramchandra became very angry. This is why when the demigods went to approach Lord Vishnu to beg for an incarnation, Bhumi Devi took the form of a cow, written by Sanatana Goswami. One reason, because she said, oh, I have to get the compassion of the Lord now. If she had gone in her Devi form as Bhumi Devi, oh, last you took Sita. That'll be the last remembrance. So she went in the form of a cow. And Krishna is very merciful. Understand? So like this is Radha. Radhika could stand on the sharp stones of Govardhan and look, and not one mark will come on her feet. She'll feel no pain at all. That rag, when it becomes intensified, it is anurag. So the feeling that follows rag is anu to that rag. And in that feeling, the love becomes so high, the love itself becomes the controller. You understand? So no longer the two individuals are controlling, but the love is controlling. That anurag is what turns into Mahabhav. That Mahabhav is rude, adi rude. It means it's intense, more intense. Simple parlance, right? Then that adi rude turns into Modan, the happiness of the highest kind of intensity of love. And all of the gopis experience that. Mohan, only Radhika's party is experiencing that. When Krishna's in separation, it's because their hearts are tadatma with Radhika, they experience some Mohan. Madan means the highest kind of bhava. It is only experienced by Radharani. It is that highest type of love that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to experience. And when he was cleaning the Gundicha temple, it was in that Madan bhav, that degree of intense separation, he was cleaning Gundicha temple because at Kurukshetra he told, my heart and Vrindavan are non-different. Gundicha and Vrindavan are non-different. So the cleaning of Gundicha temple is really the intensity of Radhika's Maranakya Mahabhav, waiting for Krishna's appearance there to come back from Dwarka. You understand? How will you obtain this? You will obtain this through Nam. That's why when Radhika recited Shishastakam, because Mahaprabhu wrote the Shishastakam early. You understand? He wrote it as a padati for doing remembrance of Nam. But when did he recite it? He was at the end in Antya-lila, after hearing the sonnet of Advaitacharya that it's time to end your pastimes. Then Mahaprabhu became completely absorbed in the highest mood of Maranakya Mahabhav. At that time, he recited Shishastakam. So now the prayer, Nam Nam Akri Bahuda Nija Sava Shaktis. You understand? The Trapita Niyamita Smaranena Kala. Now, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cleaning the Gambhira, everybody who did everything, pass me the water, Hare Krishna. Give me a cloth, Hare Krishna. Pour more water, Hare Krishna. You didn't clean enough, Hare Krishna. You understand? Because now in this mood, the deepest mood, he's reciting over and over again. Harinam under this mood Nam Nami, Nam Nam Akri, Ahuda Nija Sava Shakti. This name will bring Krishna into Vrindavan. Do you understand? Not only that, because when Krishna was in Mathura and then Dwarka for all of those years, right? Radhika and gopis took shelter of these names while they were doing everything. It was their only solace. So Radhika realizes this, and it's revealed in Gaur Leela because Mahaprabhu writes Shashtakam. But everything for them was dependent on Nam. When they would remember Krishna's Nam, they would remember his Leela. So they recite all the names of Krishna. You understand? As Maharaj told, Radhika even used to do the jap of Krishna's name. Remember the Maharaj told? Yeah. You understand? Whenever she's feeling deep separation, she can do the jap of Krishna's name. And she will realize Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Purnasuro Nityamukta Abhinato Namanamyo. Who can realize Krishna's name and Krishna non-different? Only those who have pure realization. Radhika is the highest realization. Oh my gosh. Please open the door very quickly for Shanta Maharaj. Yes. So only Radhika, she can know the power in this Nam. In the form of Mahaprabhu, he's now telling every single thing in the form of Nam. So the cleaning is not being done by water and cloth and brooms. You understand? Dandavad Maharaj, Dandavad Maharaj.
Sorry, late.
Maharaj, you can move this table, maybe over to that corner. Maharaj can sit here. Okay. I see Jara Devi is embracing you, as she is all of us. Got it.
Oh, sorry, folks. Disturbing you.
No, that's all auspicious. So this reason, Gundicha margin was not being cleaned by water, rags, soap, everything. What was cleaning the Gundicha temple? This Nam. Understand? Headed by Mahaprabhu. This Nam was cleaning Gundicha temple. Because water, soap, brooms, everything. It is like saying Ata Shri Krishna Namani Nalavad Graimantriya. That any mundane thing, right, can do the job. No. Your tongue cannot chant Hare Krishna. You understand? Only if the subsidy of Shakti will come from Guru Sadhu, then Nam will appear on your tongue and it will attract Krishna. So Nam was what was cleaning the Gundicha temple. And because Radhika was leading it in the form of Mahaprabhu, even that last speck should be removed. Why? Because there should be no obstacle between Priya and Priyatam. Understand? No obstacle, not one speck. You understand? So this is the mood of the cleansing of Gundicha temple. Because now for 7 days, then finally Krishna will come and be in Vrindavan. But does he go back to Puri? There's the Bodhiyatra, yes, the Bodhiyatra. No, he will not go back. Oh, here, part 5th day. Bodhiyatra means the 9th day when the procession goes back. Here, Panchami Lakshmi will come with all of associates. Bodhiyatra means when the return, devotees will follow to go back, right? But the question is, does Krishna go back? What happens then to Jagannath?
Krishna emergency. I mean, no.
You're close. No, but you're close. When Jagannath goes to Vrindavan, the Nitya Prakasha Vrindavan manifests. So at that time, Krishna never leaves that Nitya Vrindavan. The Bodha Yatra is a Prakat Leela, just like Krishna's Prakat Gamana to Mathura and Dwarka. You understand this? So when we're doing Rath Yatra, we should not think we brought Jagannath now we're taking back. We should think we took Krishna back to Vrindavan, boss final. You understand? Gopal Champu is revealing this thing because when Krishna comes back, even the Brijabasis notice one thing. The Ruka is still standing there on the bank of Jamuna. So they're talking to Krishna, they're relating to Krishna. Same time, Krishna's noticing everybody's very anxious. So then Krishna understands the hint. And he tells, Daruka, you go bring Baladev and Rohini Ma here. You understand? Because Brijabasi is anxious. Why is this chariot still staying here with your chariot driver? Are you here for good or not? To prove this point that he's not leaving, he sends the Ruka back only to bring Rohini and Baladev. So he's saying, not only I'm coming, but I'm bringing back Rohini Ma, Baladev also coming. Understand? So when Jagannath comes, this is a rahasya. Even many devotees will not speak this, but when Jagannath comes, that time it's Nitya Vrindavan Prakash. Because who will then think, after 100 years, after the suffering of all Brijabasis, after the pain gopis went through, Krishna's coming back, and it's okay, how many? 7 days. Okay, no problem. Then we'll get you a room. You understand? 7 days. 7 days are very good. He spent longer than that, right? Meeting with them in Kurukshetra, 2 months. So how would you say Krishna's returning to Vrindavan as the whole Rath Yatra, right? Because so much goes into Rath Yatra. Krishna's getting sick, going into the sickness for 15 days. Mahaprabhu's in deep separation. He goes to Alanath temple. Alanath temple means Alanath temple means the Nath of the Alwars. Alwars were the great saints of South India. They wrote one book. Bhaktivinoda has this book. I don't know where he got it. I've looked over and over and over for this book. The book is called Divya Prabandham. Divya Prabandham is 4,000 verses. These 4,000 verses talked about the beauty of love of God at a very high level. Bhaktivinoda has this book with the Sanskrit and the English and everything. He don't know how he got it. I've been looking for this book for years. So the Alwars, they were the highest expression of bhakti before the unfoldment of Bhakti Rasa. So the Al-Anath temple is their Nath. When Mahaprabhu goes there, however, he sees that Vishnu deity as the form of Krishna at Paitagan. You know Paitagan Lila? When Krishna disappeared from gopis, at that time, when the gopis were searching for Krishna, he manifested 4 arms. And they all came and said, where did Krishna go? Where did Krishna go? Come on in. And at that time, all 4 arms, they went in different directions. You understand? So this was, but when Srimati Radhika came, because some gopis, Chandravali's party up with a head. When Radhika came with her party, that time the 4 arms couldn't be maintained and they went inside the body. When Mahaprabhu sees that deity at Alanath, that deity becomes the Paitagan Murti when Krishna disappeared from the gopis at Raslila. You understand? And that's why Mahaprabhu, he falls into a swoon there, and the stone that he lays on, that's the stone that melted. That's what you take, Alanath. This guy. So this is the real rahasya of Gundicha margin. Understand? Question.
So the external, maybe for us, like,
I'm about to, that's what
Okay.
okay. The external meaning. You understand? Our aspiration is this, rahasya. External meaning is that anybody who aspires to have the moods that I was just discussing, they will have to be careful to clean the heart in the same way. Here, this last speck of dust on anything is the tendency of self-interest. Because this is the thing that we cannot give up. You understand? People will give up all kinds of external things. I will change my diet. I'll change my socializing habits. I'll become celibate. I'll become completely shaven head and be like a monk. I will do this, I will do that. But giving up self-interest, very difficult. Very difficult.
So it's a connection between self-interest and petition.
Pratishta is a subtle reality of any conditioned soul. It is only when it becomes pratishta asha that it becomes dangerous. Pratishta means, the word pratishta means establishing yourself, pratishta, over others. To put yourself in a position over others. Maharaj was explaining the function of that is anytime you'll see another person, you will grossly or subtly think, I could do better. It doesn't matter what the category. You know what I mean? So the guy who's been sitting on his couch for 10 years watching basketball games, he will give advice. You shouldn't have took that shot. You understand? That's it. He shouldn't have took that shot. Stupid person, you understand? So he's getting $100 million. He trains all year long, you understand? But the guy on the couch for 10 years with a beer and popcorn, yeah, he shouldn't have took that shot. Understand? So this is the nature of pradishta. You understand? It's a permanent feature of conditioned life. But when it becomes gross, it becomes pratishta asha, the desire for it. You understand? I want to have that adoration and so forth.
Is that you don't want to give up your independence? Is that the desires you talk about?
These things are all related. Remember, we were breaking down how the construction of any conditioned soul exists. The first thing is the identity, the real identity of a conditioned soul is taken away. What is the real identity of a conditioned soul? I'll give you an example, just for a second. In our day-to-day conversation, when you're speaking to somebody, every word you will use will be couched in I and mine. Excuse me, what's your name?
Afia.
Afia. Nice to meet you. My name. You understand? You understand? So that's how it works. So everything we think of is couched in I and mine. But the actual identity of the jiva is dasosmi. But nobody introduced himself. Hi, how are you? I am Afia Dasi. Understand? I am Mukunda Das. And this is why these suffixes have been given to each name. So that there's a constant reminder that I am the Das or Dasi, right? Of Bhagavan, of God. You understand? So, but we introduce ourselves. Yeah, my name is John. What's your name? You understand? And if you're trying to flirt, the voice changes everything. Hey, what's your name? Everything changes. So this is the petitioner because the Abhiman, it manifests in the voice and everything. You know, I can have a heyday. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to reminisce, right? I want my sparring to stay where it should be. But I'm saying, but everything changes. And this is Pratishta Asha. You understand? And the pinnacle of Pratishta Asha, it can be either Brahmavad or Mayavad, right? Mostly Mayavad. And in those who are personalists, Guru Abhiman. That's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, Tai Sisha Tava Takya Savada, Guru Abhimana Tyaji. May the idea of Guru Abhiman go very far away. I always think myself to be a Sishya. And Guru Abhiman is the antithesis of that. You understand? So in Bhakti dealings, that becomes the pinnacle of Pratishta Asha. Many other forms take place. I am a great Kirtaniya. Right? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Right? So this is Pratishta Asha. Or if I remember when I used to go to a temple in Bombay, right? And it's amazing. Because the pujaris there, they all look like models. I don't know what the story was with that. I don't know if they handpicked them all. What the story was, everybody looked like a model. And there's one devotee, Western devotee named Naruto. And for me, he was like GQ personified. The way he wore his dhoti and everything, even the way his Brahmin thread was. His Brahmin thread would be just like on the tip of the shoulder, and it would come down just like swirl down, and it never moved. Like and his dhoti was just right, and his charter, everything. He was the head pujari. And then all three pujaris, because they do, RT simultaneously on all three altars, they all look like models. And sometimes you view the RT and you couldn't tell really what's going on because they were all synchronized also. So especially when they got to the chamra, this was like the highlight of the RT. And then the chamra would spin for like 5 minutes, right? It was spinning 5 minutes. And then you'd hear all of the ladies who came to the RT, So I'm hoping, and my hope of hopes, that this is some semblance of something to a Bhagavan, not the Pujari. You understand? But it was so, just incredible. So, of course, those Pujaris didn't come time to give prasad. Then they would take the prasad.
It was
they would
great.
go, the eyes are very dreamy.
I loved it.
There's handshakes. You understand? So, but I'm not assessing because I don't know. But I'm saying it could be being so handsome, being so beautiful the way you do arti. Pratishta Asha can come I am such high class of Vaishnava saving. You understand? I'm high class of a scholar, right? So a person reads every book and they will quote 1,000 verses just like Keshav Kashmiri, like to win. You understand? And then they'll consider I'm very high class of scholar. You know, then in the next 5 minutes, right, something will overwhelm them and bus, gone. You understand? So we don't want any of these things because Raghunath Das Goswami is saying, if this Pratishta Asha is there, Katam Sadhu Premas Prasakti Suchi, how pure prema will come in that heart? Because as soon as there's pride, so Maggie started explaining this, pride, if there's pride in the heart, how can real love come in that heart?
Right,
'Cause
arrogance gets in the way.
Arrogance gets in the way. Even in a mundane relationship, even in relationships in this world, if there is pride, it is very difficult.
I'm right.
I'm right. She's always right, but that's true. No, I feel extremely blessed. I feel extremely blessed. Somehow or another, by the mercy of Guru Gauranga, then what is the meaning of Dharma Patni I've seen in this life? Therefore, it's good to go. So any future life, no need. Understand? And on the other hand, this is Pujapad B.V. Shanta Maharaj. Jai. So, like Bhumi is my and Guru Kurunam, like elder brothers, and myself, Bhakti Sanat, all we're like just brothers together. So we've known each other for 45 years or something, and we opened temples together in Africa, so long and everything like that. But I'm also bringing up his name because my Dharma Patni is on this side, and his encouragement, you should put on this cloth, is on this side. Prabhuji, you should take.
Stuff really quick.
No, he doesn't do it. So he's giving me blessings. Huh? Huh? You did? Huh? No. Don't tell him that. I've had you. Well, should what they say? Said no need. Huh?
Get back on the
Back on the track, back on the subject. Any questions, anything? So, hold on 1 second, would you?
Could you explain, for the novices here, the new people, Swarup Shakti?
Okay.
Swarup Shakti. There are two kinds of energy at play at all times which are affecting us. One is material energy.
Yes, I
And
do.
that material energy is very apparent because it appears before us in earth, water, fire, air, and ether, in some permutation or another, plus 3 subtle things. The mental faculty, intellectual faculty, and the sense of identity that falsely identifies that I am this temporary body. These 8 things combine together to create a kind of influence that we all experience. You understand? We identify that I am, John Doe. And I went to such and such college. These are my parents. This is my background. This is my social status. This is my this, that, this, right? And then we interact with the 5 gross elements in different ways to try to enjoy it. That is called the material energy and material influence. Sort of the polarity to that is an influence that says there's something else beyond this. There's a sense that I have an existence that's not just composed of the interaction of my subtle existence and this gross material energy. Everybody feels that. Whether they act on it or whether they get involved in it is another question, but they feel it. At a certain point in their sojourn in life, from one life to another, a kind of epiphany comes that there's definitely more to this, right? Being born, aging, getting old, then dying, repeat. So at a certain point, that becomes questioned. It's at that point that a person turns and says, who am I beyond this? That's the time when what Prabhu was talking about is Swarup Shakti takes its influence. The word Swarup literally means one's own form. So here it means the form of God. Swarup Shakti. The power of the form of God exerts an influence to attract us. Because anything we've been attracted to in this life has come from a personal kind of arrangement. You understand? It doesn't have to be the person themselves. But if you go see artwork or hear music, even better, I was a musician for many years. If you will hear music of your favorite musician without going to see them in concert live, without ever meeting them, they're exerting an incredible influence. Yes or no?
Yes.
Understand?
Exactly.
But just by the sound. So that's a Shakti, that's a power influence of a person, though. Because the music didn't just manifest out of nowhere. It came from the creativity of those persons. You understand? So in the same way, Swarup of God, his own personal form, is the basis of an influence that attracts everyone. The very meaning of the word Krishna is that which is all attractive. You understand? It attracts everything and everyone. Well, how could that be? I'm not a Hare Krishna. You understand? How does it attract everyone? Because Krishna also means God, and God is the basis of everything that we find attractive. So that new album that came out by your favorite artist, that sound vibration has its origin in the Omkara. That Om is the basis of all sound. So therefore, the ingenuity of someone to manipulate that sound to create your new favorite record, that's Krishna. Understand?
I say something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you know, like I believe that I'm listening to you, and you're right. Because,
Is he allowed?
yeah. I'm type of, like when I go through, I'm coming back into Krishna consciousness. I study a lot of other religions, and I believe what you're saying is true because when I get up in the
Hold
morning,
on 1 second, my brother. Bobby, hand me this phone. What? Yeah. It's traveling now, starting to get to the back.
like, I chant Hare Krishna. I also chant a few other mantras that are like the Om, Three Krishna, and I'm gonna chant a lot of other, with that. Because I look at YouTube and I pick all this stuff up, but or on YouTube. But like I'm suffering right now from and I don't talk about it a lot. I suffer from diabetes. And I'm telling you, getting up in the morning is hard. And I just stopped drinking a few months ago, even though I've been coming to the temple years back when I was a teenager. But I wanted to stay out in the material world because I wanted to experience that thing, eating, sleeping, making the friends. It was hard. Did you hear me? It was hard for me. Now that I'm coming back, I feel all these emotions, all these things that I never even felt before. When I stopped, especially when I stopped drinking a few months ago, I feel all this stuff. Like you said, like, is it, you question your motives, you question, what is this right? Am I going the right way? I often, like a lot of times, go through so many emotions, I gave up a lot of things. I gave up, I was married and divorced, this, that, I gave up, but I'm coming to a realization that I'm suffering. I didn't, man, when I was doing all that stuff, I was suffering, I didn't know I was suffering. I was suffering bad, I got gunned down, shot, all kinds of stuff, hanging with all these different people. I thought they were doing me some good. But I've come to the reality now that no human being did me no good. No. Not me. Krishna, God is the only one that's done me well. And warned me so many times. I survived so many tragedies. Right? And I won't even go into that. But anyway, I will say, you kind of like saying, hey man, you question it all. Am I in the right place?
I wanted us to
Brother,
go.
what you just said is like the realizations of realizations, because it's a real. There's one thing that's philosophy, right? All of us have had real experiences too. But what you're saying is having gone through real experiences and not having lost, because this is the other thing I was going to mention, is that the impressions you have from your previous experience with the temple, with devotees, etc., that's never going anywhere, right? No matter what happens, those feelings and impressions are permanent now, right? So you'll never be able to get rid of those. The material impressions that you've gone through have also shaped by your karma a kind of realization and kind of like connecting the dots that, hey man, ain't nothing out here in this world really for me. nothing has really satisfied me. And really, quite honestly, nobody's really showing you any love.
Because it's
The first time we really experience love in this world is
But I
in
kinda-
contact with a pure
probably
devotee.
gonna take a little
And in
bit.
your case, the influence of Srila Prabhupada is that pure devotee. Because all the way back from that time, you've had contact. So that's the only person showing you love. Because after all these years, you could come back with a flood of
Right.
feelings and say, man, at least I feel satisfied here. Because on these streets, nobody has been willing to show me real love. Even, I'm just being frank and don't misinterpret this.
I know.
But even in the terms of meeting man and woman, in this world, there's no real love. If you come to the platform of devotion, where people have God as the center, then the qualities of their love for God reflect back into the relationship. That's the only way you experience love, even between man and woman in this world, even with children. As much as God is the center, that relationship becomes imbued with the qualities of love. Other than that, everything else in this world is mutual exploitation, gross or subtle. You understand? I love you. I love you too. You're gonna be my babe. Is it babe or boo? I don't know which one.
Yeah,
It's both. Oh, all right, I can keep up. Right? Right? Whichever one it is, right? You're that. Until 2 months later. Now, 2 months later, 2 months later, I'm hunting you down because if I find you, I'm gonna kill you. So my wife said, what? Right? So 2 months ago, it was the most charming. I love you too. You understand? 2 months can go by, and the hatred can get so deep, people will want to kill each other. There was a story of a lady who drove all the way from Texas and put cans in her car so she didn't have to stop to use the bathroom to come all the way to the East Coast to kill an astronaut. Yeah. Oh, that's shame.
She's an astronaut.
She's an astronaut, well educated. To kill another astronaut, she had some kind of. So just see, there's not really love in this world. Understand? There's not really love in this world. But if we can get some semblance of love for God,
There's so
then we
much
can share that with
downstairs.
another person, fraternally, parentally, or conjugally. But other than that, in this world, very difficult to find real love. And the thing about it is, everybody comes with conditions. You know, if you can satisfy their conditions, then there's a relationship. If you don't, it's over. The only person who's never abandoned you all this time, think about it, has been Krishna. No matter what you've gone through, from almost dying, being gunned down, as you mentioned, from the struggles for health, from the struggles with sobriety, any kind of thing, Krishna has not left. Therefore, you're sitting in here today. You understand?
Those are samskars.
Those are called samskars. There's two kinds of samskars: bhakti samskars, which are eternal and permanent, and karmic samskars, which change from life to life. You understand? Right? Because we can all go back to the little back book. There's all of them ladies, and for ladies, all them gents, they're not here. You understand? Whether it was a horrible breakup or a very cordial, see you when I see you. You understand? Whichever one it was, right? They're not here. But Krishna remained in your heart through the whole time, through everything. You understand? Facts. And, oh, somebody, Shrikant Prabhu.
So Prabhu had two questions, but they're kind of intermixed. The first one is, you spoke about self-interest, right? It's the most difficult to go. So I would like to understand, why is that? Is it because of our sense of false ego? That's my first question, and I think it's related. But before the second question, I think both will be related. Second one is, I'm just talking about myself, doing our morning japa, reading books, sadhan, doing bhajan. But there's always this fear that is, I'm just plateauing, meaning there's nothing progressing. It's there because I was reading yesterday Bhakti Vivek Tattva book which Bhumi Prabhu gave. He talks about Mishra Bhakti. So I feel that yes, that is the Mishra Bhakti because there is a desire to enjoy. It can be subtle thing, not gross. Subtle things like in good clothes, good place, good garden, things like that. So want to just help want to hear, how can we not get caught in this mouse trap? We feel that we are doing, but all we are doing is just running around.
Not really. Bhakti, because bhakti is actually a spiritual energy until the jiva comes to a certain level of maturity, you cannot perceive your own advancement. Only when you come to a certain level of maturity, it will start to reveal itself. In certain stages, the cleaning is going on, but it's imperceptible, right? Like there's so many things now medically that you take it and it helps to clean your system, but it's imperceptible how it's getting into the cell, what it's doing, this, that. You can't perceive it. But then as your health becomes more clarified, your health gets better and better, suddenly you realize, wow, I can bend my hands back again. Before the arthritis was so bad, I couldn't do this. You understand? So same with bhakti is imperceptible until we get to a level where we, like Anishta Ruchi is where you really start to see the effects of bhakti. Understand? It's bhakti pareshanu bhavo. You'll see the effects of the anubhavs of doing bhakti. And the example is given just like when you're eating a meal. With every bite, you're getting satisfied. At the same time, you're getting full. You understand? So bhakti is like that. Understand? Now, as far as Mishra Bhakti is concerned, in the earlier stages of bhakti, it will be Mishra. You cannot help because the very nature of existence is, well, I want to have a home. Well, if I want to have a home, can it be okay home? Does it need to be a hut? Understand? Now, of course, in your house, many huts could fit. I'm just being. No, it's a beautiful home. Oh, yeah, that house is very beautiful. But this is also the meaning of Saranagati. Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Vivajanam, Rakshishiti Vishwasho, Goptra Vevaranam Tata. Your home, everything was given by Krishna. There's no accident what people have or don't have it. There's also karma. That karma is an interaction of your own activities, also Krishna's mercy or not mercy. Not mercy, but Krishna's blessing. So if you have those things, it is the mercy of Krishna you have them. Now Krishna gives an opportunity. Will you do the save of Hari Guru Vaishnava with that facility? You ask my wife, I wanted a van to travel for preaching. I ordered a van from the Ford company. 2.5 years, because the supply chain, it can't come. So I just gave up, so forth, so on. At the time, when by good fortune I had finished paying for one vehicle I had, this van becomes available. Yes. And so now it's the first trip this van is being taken on for preaching. You understand? So in all cases, Krishna may work something out at his own time. But if it's for the Anupul Seva of Krishna, now what we want to try to avoid, however, is multiplying desires. Krishna, I understand I have a little bit of Mishra Bhakti, but can you make the mixture more this, houses, cars, this thing, you understand? So you want to try to keep the mixture down, understand? So that happens when the taste in Bhakti increases. Because everything that happens is going according to taste. You understand? That I have a desire to have a nice place. But if you're chanting bhajan and your bhajan becomes serious, it does not matter where you are. But it's not because the sadhus are just, they hate material things. It's because the taste of the bhajan makes indifferent other things. You understand?
Higher taste.
It is a higher taste. Raso brajam rasupiyasha param vishnuvatite.
How is it that Raghunath Das Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, with the nature of the wealth that they had compared to boatloads of gold?
Money. They had so much money.
Through their wealth and tell their story. Raghunath Das Goswami, his wife was like more beautiful than damsels in the heavenly planet. She was the Miss Universe. But it's about the level of taste.
Yes.
To develop that consciousness.
And Raghunath Das Goswami, his life is played out in a Leela for us to see. He came from extremely wealthy Zamindar family, landlord-owning family. Then he tries to go to Mahaprabhu. Then again, he tries and tries, finally gets success to get to Mahaprabhu. Then gradually by the people read it vice versa. They read, he became so austere. No, he became, his bhajan got deeper. His indifference to the world got deeper. So at a certain point, his indifference turned to the point where he was taking the refuse from the Jagannath temple. At that time, Krishna became attracted to his austerity. Krishna, other than that, all the tapasvi yogis would have Krishna darshan always. He became attracted to the nature of the bhakti. Krishna told, Patram Pushpam Pulam Toyam Yome Bhakta Prayachiti. Raghunath Das Goswami's bhakti reached such a level, his indifference to everything else attracted Krishna. Understand? This is the meaning also of Vairagya. Visesh Anurag. The extreme attachment to bhajan and Krishna, right, gives indifference to other things in the world. So it's not that there's a particular meditated, because if you give the same sadhu a palace like Pundarik Vijayanidhi, doesn't matter. Or they're staying under one tree every night like Sanatana Rupa Goswami. It's the same. So the thing is not in the activity, the thing is in the mood and the heart. You understand? Somebody can have, even in a mundane sense, I'm giving an example. A person can have millions and millions of dollars, so much facility, but they may not have anybody to share it with, and they're lacking love, they'll be miserable. How possible? If the facility was the thing, then you'll find two people living together in the most, not great circumstances, but they're happy because they love. Quote, I'm paraphrasing it. Right? Because again, that love was, hey, listen here. I done told you 5 different times to pick up your shirt. Right? Because it's a small place, right? Of the whole thing. You understand? So on the other hand, you could have a huge house, and the two people quote in love, they never even see each other. Yeah, I'll be back. We're going to work. I have to go to work too. We need the money to pay for this place. So they never see each other, no communication, nothing. So this is in the mundane way. But in the spiritual sense, Krishna is always right there in the heart. One bhajan I used to like very, very much. Mono mono mandire rani shige Krishna Murari Shri Krishna Murari. Krishna is always residing in the Hridaya Mandir. So I told this verse many times. Antara Nishtakara Bhaya Lok Vyavyahar. We should always be very deeply absorbed. I was talking to my wife, we were just talking the other day. We should be deeply absorbed internally in bhajan, and externally, we should be Vyavyahar to the world. I'm giving an example. When I was working, I would get up in the morning to do my Mangal Arati, chant my rounds, everything, then I would go to work. I was working in law enforcement at the time. So I'd go into my office, the other investigators come in, everything. Hey, did you see the game last night? No, I missed it. What happened? You understand? I didn't come in and say, this is all Maya. This is Vyavyahara means to the world, dealing with the world appropriately. As a result of that, those persons I work with to this day call to discuss philosophy. We just saw my 2 partners I work with, they came to see us in DC. Joking with them just like Vyavyahari. But those same persons will call, like one person called me and said, hey, I need the Hare Krishna perspective on this. No, he didn't say perspective. He said, I need the Hare Krishna take on this thing. Right? So he's here. Like that, So, Antara Nishtakara Bhaya Lok Vyavyahar.
It reminds me, like, the phrase that a lot of people say, you learn how to hold them, learn how to hold them.
Yes. So you have to be very balanced. You know what I mean? Because extremes also not good. It's just like back at the time in our ISKCON society, when devotees,
You want to give them
they were Bhumipati, Rama Kelly first coined it, the dreamsicle devotees. So a dreamsicle is orange on the outside, but it has the white cream inside. So many devotees that time they had on saffron, they were brahmachari, but inside they were grahastas, right? But if any lady will walk by, they go, and then that brahmachari 2 months later, you see that, yeah, Prabhu, I got married to, I wanted to help her with her Krishna consciousness.
They showed at the Mongol.
Yeah, gonna change the cloth. But then when you talk to, okay, I want to testify, right? Okay.
Should I set up our teacher?
Hold on 1 second.
Should I set one up for later?
I don't because I think by that time, so we'll have Hari Kirtan to close and then
Are you
Prasad.
gonna pick a car in
Quite
the
late, but I still
car?
have things
Card in
to
the car.
do with you before and everything.
Here we go, bye.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told you, Raghunath Das Goswami, don't be marketed by Raj.
Yes. Makata Baragi taken in Akara. Don't be announcing it like a monkey. Makata means monkey. So the monkeys, they look very renounced because they don't have any clothes for one. You understand? They live from tree to tree. But especially if you go to Braj, first chance they get, they'll steal your glasses, anything else to give them they want.
How is it?
Understand? Or like a crane. A crane stands very still. It looks like it's in deep meditation
I've heard a little.
until the fish passes. You understand? So Makata Vairagya, they can looking for ordinary people in the world. Don't pretend to be renounced, all these things. That's the end of that verse is Antarkanishtakara Vairagya. But to the world, just have ordinary dealings, but without attachment. Antarkanishtakara, internally cultivate your bhajan life. Because we should also not show our bhajan life. You know, that I'm really deep in the bhajan. So sometimes people will come, and one of the things you'll see sometimes a person is giving harikatha. I'm not criticizing, so please understand. I'm saying only sometimes we'll have to be careful because it's not just within bhakti, it could be within any tradition. A person will come, they'll give their lecture and go. So after they nod and do this 5 minutes, then they'll say, be blessed. You understand? Or something like that. So in this case, a lot of times it's more and not all cases, so don't mistake this and don't offend anybody by thinking that's every time you see that's what's going on. I remember clearly once, my first time to Vrindavan, I was on Parikram. Now we ISKCON that time, we went on Parikrama, and these Gaudiya Math sannyasis came in. And the leaders, the Gaudiya Math sannyasis that came in, the ladies, you have to do it, I don't know how to do it, Bengali ladies. You hear going on, and their kirtan was going on, and those sannyasis laid down in the dust of Braj and began to roll back and forth when they came into that particular Lila stand. I looked at that, my heart was completely melted. There were some other devotees with me and saying, yeah, see, Prabhupada, this is what he's talking about. Hajavad and everything is what he's talking about. Maha Aparad. Maha Aparad. That devotee probably now is somewhere in a discotheque somewhere. Be very careful.
She has a question.
Oh,
Right here. What do you mean by Anushta Ruchi? Anushta
Nishta, then Ruchi. The word Nishta means to be established, so steady, right? Like not moving. So what happens in our consciousness, because of the influence of material energy, as Prabhuji mentioned, we may vacillate back and forth between enjoying and trying to be spiritual, enjoying, trying to be spiritual. So sometimes that becomes a prolonged battle that people have, trying to be spiritual and then deal with the material world and navigate everything. So when we come to a certain maturation in spiritual life, the consciousness will become nishta. My spiritual life is an internal reality, very deeply rooted, and I'll deal with the world appropriately, but not putting my consciousness in the world. Like in the Bible, be in the world, but not of it. So that is a practical thing, right? And the word ruchi means taste. We don't do anything without some ruchi. If I hear a type of music, I have ruchi in that music as opposed to ruchi in another type of music. Some people have ruchi in all kinds of music. Understand? So ruchi means a taste. And in the spiritual context, it means a taste that has come to a point where you can reciprocate with that spiritual energy I talked about. And that provides an inner satisfaction that then detracts from dealing with the external world for enjoyment. You understand? So really, real celibacy is based in that. Celibacy is not based in abstinence. Celibacy is based in the nature of an inner satisfaction that produces that this is greater in satisfaction proportionally than that. Understand? And when that takes place, you honor it. You do it with everything else, right? If you formerly ate at McDonald's, let's say, right? At a certain point, whenever the epiphany was, person became vegetarian, this and that. If you take the person and say, hey, let's go to McDonald's. Nah. You understand? And it's very practical because the taste is just not there. Prabhuji is talking. So he says, 2 weeks ago, maybe even, I was drinking. But in this epiphany, he say, I'm not doing that anymore. I don't want that. I don't want to do that. You understand? Now people can come up to him and suggest, hey man, let's get a taste. Let's no, I don't want to do that. If you're my friend, we can talk, we can do something. I don't want to do that no more. You understand? That's because a kind of ruchi, a kind of taste came in a quality of life that I don't want to do that.
That taste be a choice.
The taste itself, though, is an influence. Right? Like now, you couldn't have the choice to go to McDonald's. They couldn't convince you to go to McDonald's. You understand? You could, they couldn't get you to do it. And even if your mind was telling you, I'll just give it a try for old time's sake. Come on, get out of here with that. You understand? In other words, so at a certain point, the taste itself is dominant. Understand? And when that taste becomes dominant, it's called ruchi pradhan. That's the stage called ruchi. Ruchi's in bhakti all the way in Shraddha. If there was no ruchi in Shraddha, you wouldn't do this. You wouldn't get up and chant everything. There was no ruchi. But when it's ruchi pradhan, it means when the taste becomes predominant and is the foundation of your bhakti practice, it is ruchi pradhan. It is ruchi.
With levels of consciousness.
Levels of consciousness.
I'm just mentioning that point that Prabhupada makes, every service has an attractive feature which drives the service on and on.
Yes.
And the impetus is the pleasure we derive
From it.
So from every angle, the most sinful on up to the most spiritual, everyone's looking for satisfaction. It's how you go about it.
That, but what he just said is the answer. Everybody's getting a certain kind of taste, whether it's in the material world or in the spiritual world. That taste is what's pushing you on and on.
Good.
It's that ruchi. That ruchi is what causes renunciation. Understand? That's the thing that makes, oh, I want to do deep bhajan. Is that the same ruchi in Jad Ras means material energy, says I want to have a party, hang out, blah, blah, blah. Understand?
So I have two questions.
Mhm.
One was sort of pressing,
And one you wrote to me.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Oh, yes, well, that's a third. So this was pressing actually from the Bhagavad Saptaha because Srila Maharaj mentioned about Yoga Maya taking control. And sort of, I asked him if it was brain that was taking control and making Radha and Krishna dance, or Yoga Maya taking control of the brain. So he confirmed that it was Yoga Maya taking control of that brain. And so I just wanted clarification on that, because from what I've always learned, that it was brain that became.
Yeah, I'm thinking Maharaj by language is trying to grasp maybe in the question. Because in the verse it is mentioning Anurag sa swasambeja dasya papipakashita yavvanashraya vrittis chet. Anurag takes control, becomes swa, means its own, samveja, cognizant entity, samveja dasya. It makes the lover and the beloved its servant, and therefore love takes over. But Maharaj is saying a point. When the love takes over, who's going to facilitate the leela to make that happen?
Exactly.
That's Maharaj's point. The prem is the energy that's taking over, but it functions as a leela. Who's in charge of the leela? Yogamaya. So then Yogamaya will make the leelas happen according to that prem vritti. Vritti means function of that prem. So for example, in prem vaichitya, if Radhika was sitting on the lap of Krishna, at that time, the nature of Madanakya Mahabhav, Radhika can enter into any kind of prakosh, right? At that time, when Madhu Mangal says Krishna has gone, Madhusudan has gone, the Udipan enters the ear of Radhika. When that Udipan enters her ear, it takes her to a prakosh in which they are separated. You understand? So it's the vritti of the prem that's in function, but in the other prakosh, who's making that other prakosh? Yogamaya.
And isn't Krishna like also wanting to know that he wants to know?
That's what he cannot understand.
That's what he can understand.
That's so therefore Shri Radha Pranaya, why the word is used in that shlok? Shri Radha Pranaya Mahima. What is the Mahima? Word for Pranay. Pranay means when they're sitting together like that. So it's born directly from this Leela in part. Because this is the time she's sitting on his lap means it's Pranay. Other than that, Radhika sitting here, Krishna sitting there, like in Sevakunj painting. But when her mind is broken, there can be pranay. There's pranay comes on. difficult thing. Doesn't come under circumstance. But in this case, when there's pranay, at that time, Radhika will sit actually on the lap of Krishna. Understand? Chandravali, here's the difference. Chandravali, if Krishna will take the left hand of Chandravali, touch his face and put it around his shoulder, what will she do?
Take it off.
She'll take it off and switch sides and put the right hand because it's proper. If you take the left hand of Radhika and put it on her shoulder, then Radhika will take the left hand and slap him. Understand?
So my other question, not related to this, but you had mentioned about the chariot still being there and Krishna, I can't remember the name.
Daruka.
That's
Daruka is a chariot driver.
chariot driver, Daruka, to go and bring Rohini Devi and Balaramji. But then what about Subhadra Devi?
No, because Subhadra is the daughter of Vasudeva and Devaki. So Subhadra, and this is why he didn't ask to bring Subhadra. This is not Bhakti Katha, this is Krishna returning to Braj, right? So in the Katha in Rath Yatra, they're going to Braj now after many years. Subhadra will go because her heart is, what do you call it? She can identify with the mood because Uddhava went, then Balaram already went. So Subhadra gives the argument they cannot understand the heart of a woman really. So I will go. That's in the Rath Yatra Leela. In this Leela that Jiva Goswami is writing Gopal Champur, when Krishna comes back after killing Dantavakra, that time he's doing this Leela. And Daruka brings him there and says he killed Dantavakra in near Mathura. Right? He came to meet him. He heard they want to kill him. He came to meet him. After he killed him, the verse says he looked over the Jamuna, crossed the Jamuna, and went to Braj right away. So Daruka was still with him, his chariot. So when he was there, he told him to go back. By saying bring Rohini and Balaram, what is that doing to Brijavasi's mind? It's like old times. Rohini and Balaram. If Subhadra comes, she's the daughter of Vasudeva and Devaki. She's not going to stay. So you understand?
I thought it was in relation to
Rath
like, the
Yatra.
Rath Yatra, okay. And so then the last one was in relation to like the japa and self-care.
Japa and self-care.
Yeah.
So actually just had a very nice conversation with one very good friend of mine about this. Anything that will be anukul for bhakti is what we should do. That is part of the anga of Saranagati. If self-care then becomes pratikul, it should be given up. That's the only criteria. So self-care, example. I should get proper rest so I can wake in the morning to chant my rounds nicely without being sleepy. This will be anukul self-care for japa. I should take 5 courses on communication skills and understanding how my childhood trauma has impacted. Understand? When you start going down that pipe, it will turn from self-care to self-interest. You understand? For those practicing bhakti. Now, for those making the approach to bhakti, it may be those channels will be helpful in the approach towards bhakti. Once you put your shraddha in bhakti, you cannot divest any of the shraddha currency to go back because then it will hurt bhakti. The investment is prior to coming. Just like when we started the Institute in Washington, the whole idea was to do an outreach to people by teaching conflict resolution, communication skills, other things that help people to deal with their current conditional life so they'd be better prepared to hear about the entrance into divine life. When in divine life, you take the currency of Shraddha and invest it in several other modalities, you're divesting your faith currency from the progress of bhakti. Once you surrender to bhakti, bhakti got you. So therefore, bhakti will do everything. Understand? So to suggest, well, bhakti could do everything, but couldn't handle my trauma. That's why I'm saying, now I'm not speaking about genuine medical conditions. You understand? Someone has a genuine medical condition under which they need counseling, etc., etc. We're not talking about that. We're talking about devotees who want to be in a situation where the conversation can shift from Siddhanta or even Krishna's Leela to my Leela. So what happened? So when I was, when I was going through this, it was so traumatic for me. You understand? And what happened with you? Did they talk? And then it becomes a mutual exchange of self-interest, of I and mine.
But
You understand?
Body parts all going against the stomach.
Yes,
So,
you understand? Now, devotees on the other hand doing outreach to people have to be sensitive to that. Because you're speaking to somebody, they've gone through a lot of different traumas in this life. And your answer is just chant Hare Krishna. That also is not appropriate. You understand? Because now what you're generally saying is that you have no empathy or no realization of what it's like to come from one position to another.
You gotta meet them where they're at.
You have to. Exactly.
in other words, you forgot.
Yeah, exactly. You forgot you were there. You were there.
Yeah.
Even Mahaprabhu told Raghunath Das Goswami, go home. You understand? He ran all the way to Mahaprabhu. He said, go home. You understand? Be with your parents, do your bhajan in here. So first cultivate people to a point where it's organic, that they make a move into divine life in a certain way, that will be steady and more permanent. You understand? The quick jump from, this to that, then people, this is why a lot of people lean back into the mode of goodness. Because they kind of jump in and, okay, I join. So what time do you become a pure devotee? You understand? So when does that happen? And I've been here a week already. I have a lot of things to do. My schedule is pretty tight. So I need to know when the pure devotee thing happens. Understand? So because that mood is there and it doesn't happen, people lean backwards now into the mode of good. That's mine, Ram. It's my takoji. Just wanted to put it there. You can put it there. So if they lean back into the mode of goodness and various modalities where they can feel good, and then bhakti becomes a backdrop to that. Bhakti is my religion, and this is my work. This is my practice.
I understand, Bhakti's not an organized religion.
Yes.
It's not, people think, well, Christianity, this is Islam, I got Bhakti.
Yes.
It's just not a religion.
And the deepest practices of all paths are like that. I met one Sufi while I was preaching in Africa. Very deep mode of practice in bhajan. Very deep mode of practice to realize, basically their realization is of Atma, called the Ruh. In Islam, called the Ruh. To realize that this Ruh is not part of the material. In African cosmology, like in Ifa, others, they have the Ori. Ori has different levels. One level of Ori is the soul. And their life has to be led by Iwa Pele. Iwa Pele means conscious effort to realize the Ori.
Is that one? Means that everything is just one?
Like this.
It matters, but I mean.
It matters. But the first realization will be non-distinct. So it'll come out as one. In the mature realization of absolute truth, the distinctions of the absolute truth, which are the basis of distinction in this world, are realized. I think because it's getting very late, we're trying to drive to Eden Huxley. Oh, wow. Trying to make it, yeah. Because then the program is there tomorrow, and would avoid us having to do that drive tomorrow.
Where are you from? I mean, what part of?
Right now, we're stationed in Florida, in Alachua. But I was working in Washington. My wife, her practice was in Baltimore, years and years. Then I grew up in New York.
Right?
I live in Florida now. But I grew up in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And then I was telling Ron, and Ron was here earlier, when I was working as a musician, you were here in Philly a long time?
I'm born and raised, so.
You know the 5 spot over here? I used to play there all the time.
No guys in the family.
Yeah. I played so many concerts here. Right? Back at that time. Yeah, we used to play.
What do you play?
I was a percussionist. That time we did so many shows with the Roots. The Roots are here.
You play an instrument over here.
Yeah, drums and percussion stuff.
Okay, percussion, yeah.
Yeah, so we used to come here, we used to do shows with the Roots. And Jill, when Jill first came out, Jill, she lives here. I don't know, she grew up here. But Jill Scott, she grew up here? Yeah, so we all were all friends, we all toured together. So,
She's from North Philly.
she's from North Philly.
Yeah.
Yeah, first show we did with her was here in Philly. And then we went on the road together, we went to Amsterdam. We all did shows together. And then there was one other artist that traveled with us who was really eccentric. And a lot of spiritual conversations just go on there backstage. Erica Badu.
Yeah.
Really, she's really there. And they would get together, her, Navasha, and India Irene. Someone. India Irene, they get together, start talking. It was on. It was like a whole thing. You know, I go back to my room after a while. We sit there talking. Let's get in the night. They talk about this thing, that thing, and they all do Reiki somehow or another. Everybody. So you know, I was like, okay. It got to the point where backstage we'd have our session like this. After the show, we were backstage. I remember when we were doing Jazz Cafe in London. Afterwards, people came back, and Navasha would say they come up to her to get like autographs and stuff. So when they come up, say, "Yeah, so what's your spiritual life like?" And you know, because they like her and everything, say, "Well, sit down, get a chair." Right, and then when they could stay back and talk to her, they call their friends. Next thing you knew, it'd be like this room backstage, and she'd be going at it, and then she would say, "Mukunda, you got books?" We were doing this on the trains, everywhere. Nandini. Everywhere we went, she would do this, you know. I don't want to keep something. No.
I want to.
Oh, yesterday, yeah, she's done. They're getting ready for some festival or something.
I do have some books.
Books.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna.
Hare
mantras, so we should all congratulate him. So also, he's going to do his bhiksha, so everybody can, whatever you want, you put in his, you have to take your, Charlie has to make a little jelly like this, little thing, yeah. Your bhiksha? Bhavatam bhiksham dehi, or Bhavatam bhiksham dehi. If you're approaching any lady, dehi, deha, if you're approaching any gentleman. Bhavatam bhiksham,
Bhavatam Diksham.
yeah, just do that part. Bhavatam bhiksham deha or dehi. Is that-
Okay.
everything?
All right. Yes, yes.
So, yeah, just hold your little thing like this here.
Well, we already.
I gave it to the office, huh?
Did I give you the book for poverty?
No, but you should give it, because we're gonna go to Girinagri tonight, then go to Ohio.
I did it on at
Bhavatam Diksham.
Bhavatam
Bhavatam
bhiksham